Hello, everyone, and welcome to Not Your Tamil Auntie. Today, with me, I actually have a 29-year-old CEO. Like, where am I going? I don't understand. So, Sonakshi is the CEO of York Q, which is a medical-based startup in the UK. She's just told me. So, Sonakshi, you're going to have to kind of talk me through this because I don't know what any of those words meant.
Okay. So, hi Suja, thank you for having
Hi.
me on your podcast. So, Your Q is a medical device that continuously tracks people's vital signs, and we aim to detect out of hospital cardiac arrest. In the UK, it's a standard that when you have an out of hospital cardiac arrest, there's a lot of time that is lost before someone comes and discovers you, and then you get to call up 999 and ask for support. What we do is we make finger-based medical devices that patch those vital signs straight into the healthcare infrastructure. So we're continuously monitoring you and we become the witness that you need in any moment that it goes wrong.
Okay. And like kind of like how far along in the system are you? Because that sounds
Yep. So we've been running for 3 years now. We've closed our pre-seed round and we've raised around 170,000. We're looking to raise another seed round for around 500,000, and our first market is going to be India, and we're starting with babies in ICUs to detect cardiac anomalies that they would have.
Wow. And where did this idea come about from? Because that's not something quite standard.
Yeah, it started all with COVID pandemic. It was just frustrating that I was in the healthcare environment. I was doing my master's in UCL, personalized medicine, and I saw how every industry was quickly to was they found it very easy to transition into digital way of functioning. So your Zoom calls, your payments, everything was digitized. But healthcare was the one that struggled, and we didn't have a lot of accountability, especially in Indian hospitals, for the condition that patients were. So it was just a frustrating moment that turned into an idea saying, okay, why don't we have this digitization happening? It's mainly because we don't have the tech that can remotely access all the vital signs and deliver it to a clinician when they need it. Our current systems all track our vitals, but the minute you're out of the hospital discharge, they're all erased. There's no accountability, there's no storage, nothing. So we're building a platform where everything can be tracked, everything is stored, every patient's history is kept safe.
Okay. So there was recently a show that came out on Netflix where a woman said she was doing that and then basically kind of cheated everyone out of the entire system.
That's not me.
Okay. Not you, because I think that woman is now in prison.
No, I know what you're referring to. It's called Theranos, and they're a US based company.
Sorry. Yeah, just give me 1 minute. I'm really sorry. Hold
No
on.
worries.
So yes, no. So I know you're not obviously that woman because I think she's in prison, but from the looks of what that show, it seemed quite easy, and I really genuinely don't know how it was that easy to kind of almost pull the wool over so many people's eyes. But please tell me it's not that easy. Like, please tell me you've worked very, very hard to get to where you are.
So no, it's not that easy, especially when right now, after all of that incident has happened and the documentary has come out, investors have become more aware into where they're putting their money into. So they do their due diligences. And especially in the UK, I think UK is a very science heavy landscape. So they do ask us to validate how the prototype works and all of it functions way before we even have a market ready product. So
Yeah.
the kind of barriers that are set in a medical device industry is very high. So it's not that easy.
Yeah. So obviously I detect a bit of an accent there.
Yeah.
So where are you from originally?
I was born in Tamil Nadu in India, and I've only come to the UK for my higher education, and then I ended up doing my startup here.
So when you say your higher education, did you come for your bachelor's?
Yes, for my bachelor's. I did it at Manchester in the UK, and then my master's was in London.
Okay. So does that mean you spent the pandemic in England or were you in India?
I did 6 months in England, and then I did another 3 months in India, and then I was back again to finish my master's.
Okay. So your idea for York Q, did that come while you were here or did that come while you were there, or was it kind of just a
So it's both partial. So what happened was when I went back to India, I faced the brunt of the system from the consumer point of view. So I had my brother who got into a car accident, and then he was literally bleeding, but all the hospital x-ray people asked me to fill in forms whilst he was bleeding, and they wouldn't admit him in, which was very frustrating. But if we had something like the NHS ID or a framework that was set up, that was completely unnecessary, and you could save so much time and
Yeah.
treat that person during that time. And
It also sounds very much like a Tamil movie, right? Where that entire thing of like they're bleeding to death, and it's like, no, you've got to fill out the form and make sure
sadly,
you've
that's
got the.
how Indian hospitals still function. But the other time that we faced that brunt was my co-founder, who was also stationed in London. He had his dad, he's a medical doctor by background, and he had his dad who was got diagnosed with COVID. And being a medical doctor, he wasn't able to see his vital signs or see how he was recovering, which then led him to lose his dad. And he said, if I'm a medical doctor and I can't save my own family, like, the system is really bad. So I need to have a way of kind of monitoring him, even with the distance, like remotely kind of give my consultations and tell people, this is okay and this is normal and this is how it is. So I think it kind of stemmed up from that being like, okay, no, somebody has to do this, and why not us?
Yeah. That sounds amazing. So obviously that's kind of very kind of outside the box thinking, like living in India and then coming to the UK or going abroad for studies. Again, I've seen it in lots of Tamil movies, but starting your own startup, that isn't easy. How did your parents react?
So I started my startup whilst I was just finishing graduating of my master's. And at that point, I was having a relationship with a boyfriend of mine, who's still my boyfriend, by the way. So that's good news. But yeah, so my parents got to know about that, and I think my dad is more of the typical South Indian father who goes like, he keeps asking me questions like, oh, what are you gonna do in your life, or how are you gonna live your life? And when I tell him, no, dad, I've studied so much, like I want to be a researcher, or I want to do this and I want to do that and make my mark in the world. And he's like, that's all your interests. I'm asking, what do you do in your life? No, you should think
Sonakshi,
about marriage.
you only make your mark when you have children.
Yeah.
They are the mark that you will leave in this world.
Yeah, so he was he still is very backward thinking that way.
He'll come around. He'll have to.
So yeah, so they didn't so I was used to the fact that, okay, yeah, I'm living in the UK, it's normal to have relationships, everything's normal, my body, my rules, all of that. But they were still living in India, and in the tradition that they live in, it wasn't acceptable to have a relationship. And mind you, my parents had a love marriage. My dad is a South Indian who's married a North Indian, and then there's this level of hypocrisy that follows, right? So yeah, so they completely cut off ties with me. They got really angry about it. So when I started my startup, I guess my mom kind of knew I was working on something, but nobody knew how long. It's been 3 years since I spoke to them, and I only met them like last December. And I was finally able to tell them my entire journey and what I've built and how it's been doing and all of that. So that's a pretty rough road.
What was their reaction like when you kind of told them in December?
Well, the first couple of weeks, nobody asked me what I was doing, which was like an alarm to me. I'm like, why is nobody asking me what I'm doing? But my mom finally did. And I remember I spent 10 hours in the day just talking to her and trying to tell her why I'm building what I'm building, and that most people in India don't have access to good quality healthcare. And when governments give you the right to live as a part of your humanitarian rights, they don't give you the right to quality healthcare. And that's what we want to change. So she was really mind blown by it, and she said, this is a huge, like a kind of life experience that you've been having, and I feel so bad that I wasn't a part of it. And that was kind of a moment for me there to kind of like be like, okay, yeah, like they are aware of it. My dad, I remember he didn't ask me much, but then when I showed him the prototype, he was really taken aback. He's a guy who loves his tech, like he's a very gadget friendly guy. So when I told him that, dude, like dad, look, like this is your regular pulse oximeter, and I've done this small little device which is way smaller than that and can do much more than that, he was really taken aback, and he was like, whoa, like I can't believe that you've done this. So yeah, I mean, their reactions were everything, but I didn't think that I had to miss out 3 years of spending my life with them for me to get that reaction.
And did they ask about the boyfriend?
Yeah, my dad did. And he said, so are you still with this person? And he's still in denial, I feel. So he's like, oh, so you've done like some 3 years, 4 years with this one guy. And I just want to make sure that you can do one more year and then I will get you married. I was like, are you for real?
College course.
Yeah, but he's also like my dad, I think he's the kind of person who consults an astrologer for taking every small life decision that comes by. Like, don't get me wrong, astrologers are a good guide into predicting what it might be. But where I feel we go wrong is one, all astrologers are not authentic. They don't know what they are seeing. Two is if you do find someone that is authentic, the way they interpret that prediction and then the way you listen to it and then thereafter interpret it again changes the meaning of what was seen ideally. And there's a lot of discrepancies in that. Like you've got your solar calendar and your moon calendar, and every astrologer has a different way of doing that.
Yeah.
So, but I just don't think, like, I think when you live your life for you to experience it. Why would you stay so fearful and constantly trying to predict if it's the right way? Like, if it's the wrong way, it's fine. You learn from it, you do your next experience, right? But I don't know where this fear stems from, that, this is right and this is wrong and this is how we should live our life. What will the society say about it? Like, all of it doesn't matter at the end of the day. I don't think it matters.
I almost feel like sometimes they use what the astrologer is saying, or because your planets are not in alignment, or because you were born at the wrong time or the wrong day. I almost feel like sometimes they use that as an excuse.
Yep.
For the bad things that have happened, or like the
Yep.
things they, like perceived to be bad things. So it's almost like, oh, well, obviously XYZ is going to happen because their thing isn't in alignment. If we do this, and if we go to the temple on these days, or if we, I don't know, climb up a hill, things will magically get better.
I have a personal vendetta with the astrologer that my dad is consulting, only because as usual, he had consulted my astrology, and the astrologer told him, no, if you send your daughter this time around, she's not gonna like come back for the next 3 years. Now that instilled a fear in him that I'm gonna lose my daughter over the next 3 years. So thereafter, all his actions that happened in that line of course. And it was so funny because I'd come back home last December after 3-4 years, whatever it was, and I told my dad, like, not once have you asked me, who is this boy, what is his background, what is his religion, nothing.
Yeah.
You've only inferred from whatever you've understood from other people, right? So he was like, oh, okay. And then I told him, Dad, did you even know that he is like a Nadar Tamil, like he's also Malayali, he's Christian, like he's a Nadar Christian. And when I said that, my dad's face dropped. Because then he said, oh no, the astrologer said that you would have a really good alliance from a Nadar community who's a medical doctor and all of that. And I was like, okay, but that is still not the peak point, right? So the next day, he's like, okay, give me his birth date and everything and let me go to the astrologer. So he went again. And this time around, the astrologer went like, your daughter is not going to get a better boy than this boy. And then he has the nerve to come back home and tell me, you are the problem. The boy is really amazing. And this is the best alliance that you're going to get. And I was like, so you were telling me that I spent these 3 years like worrying about how I'm not talking to you and you're not talking to me, and this entire cone of silence that we had, all because of this one astrology prediction that happened and the way things rolled down. And now for you to come and tell me that I am the problem and this boy is absolutely perfect, which is what I've been trying to tell you since day one. Like I have no words. Like I don't even want to fight this fight anymore.
Wow. And then so where did you guys leave it?
So we left it with just him saying, oh, so I've consulted the astrologer again and this is not a good time now, but 2026 seems to be a better time for me. So let's, reconvene then. And I was just like, fine, like I have no words for this.
And is your mum similarly into astrology? Because she's North Indian, did you say?
Yeah, she is, but she's the kind of person who, so the reason I'm a strong, I would like to say independent, strong woman is because of her. So she questions everything that is out there in the society, the way the world works, what's right, what's wrong. She sees a lot of these, I know in Tamil Nadu we have a lot of these shows called Nia Nana now.
Yes.
which is kind of constantly questioning everything that happens in society. So she's a very curious mind, and she constantly questions what is right, what is wrong, like,
Yeah.
what should be happening. So I think through everything, she was like, she had no option. Basically, she had to be the good Indian wife, and so she had to stand by my dad, but which also meant that I was her one true pillar of support, and then she had to lose me in the process.
Yeah.
Like, that was like collateral.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Because she wasn't able to kind of fight him, I guess.
Yeah, like she knew that I would be fine by myself, but my dad wouldn't, and
Yeah.
he needed her more than me. So that was just a difficult decision that she had to take in life.
So when we kind of, obviously, I've told you the premise behind Not Your Tamil Auntie, and that whole aspect of things that people tell us that we should be. Who do you think people thought Sonakshi should be?
I think different people had different expectations. For my dad, for some reason, I was this ideal daughter who didn't have any relationships or any infatuations with boys, which is not humanly possible. But he had that kind of expectation from me. And I think when he found out that I have a relationship, and yes, I also drink and all of that, like those were like kind of moments where he was like, no, my daughter would never do anything like that. But because I've always been a straight A's in school, good sports, good curriculum. Like, I've kept my thing aligned with what he wanted,
Yeah.
other than this. And when it didn't align with what he wanted, I think that was when roads crossed, and it was a kind of thing. I remember my dad telling me as a kid, you always had to, like, even if you wanted a toy, like, I would tell you this is the toy that you would like, and this is the one that's best for you. But
Yes.
I'm like, Dad, this is a person that I have to live my life with. Like, there's no other better judge than me, and if I'm okay with that, then you should be okay with my decision to be okay with that. I think that is something that was very hard for him to come to terms with.
Mm.
But having gone through everything, bigger disclaimer is, like, all of this happens from a place of love, right? Like, they don't understand that they try to protect and protect and protect, and that protect becomes so much that you end up feeling like almost choked living around them. So I think it's just to kind of make yourself realize that it's not coming from a place of hurt or anything. They don't know any better, and it's just coming from a place of love, and this is how they know to love you. So
And I mean, like, obviously, you came to England when you were, what, 18? The Sonakshi you are now, is that who you thought you would be at 18?
no, not at all. I never for once thought that I would have my own startup. I would be trying to make a change in the world at the scale that I am making right now. I always had a vision that I would do my bachelor's, my master's, and then maybe a PhD, because I was just infatuated with the idea of having a doctor in front of my name. And then I thought I would just do like research and then break grounds that way. But I never thought for once that I would like go divert into the business side of things and then try make science into a business, into a commercial product. But that's where I am now. Also, the 18-year-old me was having a lot of fun living a life out of my dad's money, wasn't financially independent, didn't take life seriously. Like, I lived in my own bubble because everything was fine then and everything functioned as it should then.
Yeah.
But I think I've had a lot of life learnings which has completely changed the way I look at life. I even look at my friends very differently. Before, it just used to be like, oh yeah, this person has this stress or this thing, it's fine, like they'll get over it. And I would like at any moment, let's say if I'm even going to a Costa right now to get a Starbucks cafe, oh sorry, Costa and Starbucks are two different things. But you get the idea, yeah. But if I'm grabbing a hot chocolate from Costa and the waiter there has some frustration that they show back to me, then instantly my brain goes like, oh, maybe they've had other series of events that has led it to
Bad
be
day.
a bad day. That's the kind of angle that I'm coming at. An 18-year-old me was very reactive. Oh, you show frustration at me, I'm gonna show it back at you, because I never understood that people had other things in life which was really causing a huge stress on them.
Yeah.
So I think I was very blinded and naive at 18, but all of that's changing now.
And how much of that would you kind of credit to obviously your own struggles over the past 3 years?
I would credit it 100%. The only thing that I wish I had was if I was allowed to kind of explore the world and learn things for myself at an earlier stage, I could have saved that time and I would have positioned myself a much more stronger and a more independent person right now. I always feel like I didn't have to go through this to learn those lessons. So yeah, but I just think that this is how it should have been, I guess. Yeah.
If you were to kind of give your younger self, as in we're talking like your 5-6-year-old self, advice,
Yep.
what kind of advice would it be?
I am gonna say question everything. Just because someone says something is the way it should be, it shouldn't be that way. It should make sense to you as to why you do it. For instance, so as a part of my IB curriculum, this was a common trending topic. We were questioned as to what was the purpose of life, and if something's a wall, why do you call it a wall? Why don't we call it something else? Which is a very nice way to think about things. Just because people have done it 100 years,
Yeah.
the same routine doesn't mean that we have to continue doing it. There could be something better, but we will never know until we question it.
Yes.
So question everything. If you think that that's how it should be and that makes complete sense to you, then live your life that way. Because you have one life and it makes no sense for you to live your life on other people's terms.
And how does your dad agree with that and the astrologer?
I wouldn't know about the astrologer because I haven't spoken to him. My dad, I don't know how he feels about that. His bottom line is men and women are different, and that not everything that men do in the world, women can. And I think I am the living testament to him to kind of prove that wrong, to say no, that men and women are equal in all ways. A boy at the wrong environment at the wrong time can equally get into a hell of a trouble, same as a girl. So I don't see any discrepancies that way, other than obviously physical strength, because biologically that just exists.
Yes. Although I know some boys that are much weaker than I am, and I'm weak. But yeah, no, 100%. And if you were to kind of, going forward, what's your plans for the future?
So I think for the future, well, I've taken on a big project.
Yeah.
It's not an easy one, so I want to see it through. And then I'm a person who questions everything, like I said. Like even in the lab when I have to work, if I'm doing a procedure, I'm like, why do we do this? And I remember my supervisor going like, oh, because this is how it's been done and nobody's asked me this why. So I do have a couple more ideas brewing. So I do think that that's going to be my next kind of vision, to see things through. I do want to make a change for the better, because I think people are the same in all aspects. Like we are all humans and we should all, like, I understand why there's economic divisions, but I don't think it should exist in terms of healthcare. So I really want to see that through. That's career speaking. Now my dad's going to be like, oh, but what are you going to do in your life?
What are you going to do in your life?
Yeah. I think I don't have any control over that. I'm just going to have to live my life and see how it takes me around. Like if I marry and have kids, then I do that. Then if I don't, then I don't. And it's completely okay to live either way as long as I'm happy with it.
Yeah, exactly. 100%. Although, like I said, the astrologer might have something to say. You might have to climb a mountain. It might work. That's going to be scaling all of the mountains in India. Just to make sure. Final pieces of advice that you want to give?
No, so I think through this podcast, I've kind of bombarded people with bits of advice already. I don't want to overload them with more things. And I'm only 29. Like I have more things to learn. So yeah, I'm going to leave it at that.
Okay, thank you so much. So guys, that was Sonakshi. Sonakshi, where can people find you or your company online?
So you can find me on LinkedIn. You can find me, my full name is Sonakshi Senthil. I have a portfolio there. I think my tagline comes up as top 100 Asians in UK Tech. And YoQ has a LinkedIn page, but you can also find our website on www.
Perfect. Thank you so much, my lovely.
Thank you, Suja.
I look forward to hearing much, much, much more about you in the future.
Yeah, I'll keep you updated. Thank you for having me on the podcast.
Okay, take care.
Bye.
Bye. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Not Your Tamil Auntie. Today with me, I actually have a 29-year-old CEO. Like, Where am I going? I don't understand. So Sonakshi is the CEO of York Q, which is a medical-based startup in the UK. She's just told me. So Sonakshi, you're going to have to kind of talk me through this because I don't know what any of those words meant.
Okay. So, hi Suja, thank you for
Hi.
having me on your podcast. So, Your Q is a medical device that continuously tracks people's vital signs, and we aim to detect out of hospital cardiac arrest. In the UK, it's a standard that when you have an out of hospital cardiac arrest, there's a lot of time that is lost before someone comes and discovers you, and then you get to call up 999 and ask for support. What we do is we make finger-based medical devices that patch those vital signs straight into the healthcare infrastructure. So we're continuously monitoring you, and we become the witness that you need in any moment that it goes wrong.
Okay. And kind of how far along in the system are you? Because that sounds.
Yep. So we've been running for 3 years now. We've closed our pre-seed round and we've raised around 170,000. We're looking to raise another seed round for around 500,000. And our first market is going to be India. And we're starting with babies in ICUs to detect cardiac anomalies that they would have.
Wow. And where did this idea come about from? Because that's not something quite standard.
Yeah, it started all with COVID pandemic. It was just frustrating that I was in the healthcare environment. I was doing my master's in UCL, personalized medicine, and I saw how every industry was quickly to was they found it very easy to transition into digital way of functioning. So your Zoom calls, your payments, everything was digitized. But healthcare was the one that struggled, and we didn't have a lot of accountability, especially in Indian hospitals, for the condition that patients were. So it was just a frustrating moment that turned into an idea saying, okay, why don't we have this digitization happening? It's mainly because we don't have the tech that can remotely access all the vital signs and deliver it to a clinician when they need it. Our current systems all track our vitals, but the minute you're out of the hospital discharge, they're all erased. There's no accountability, there's no storage, nothing. So we're building a platform where everything can be tracked, everything is stored, every patient's history is kept safe.
Okay. So there was recently a show that came out on Netflix where a woman said she was doing that and then basically kind of cheated everyone out of the entire system.
That's not me.
Okay. Not you, because I think that woman's now in prison.
No, I know what you're referring to. It's called Theranos and they're a US based company.
Sorry. Yeah, just give me 1 minute. I'm really sorry. Hold on.